See, this I'm teaching you from a book by Leon Garcia. Leon Garcia is one of the, you can say the top-notch researcher in telecom today. He is there in doing all the best researchers in 5G, the best researchers in all types of communication devices that are there. So he's written this book, which is a very good book. That is why it is so easy to explain, because his examples are so good that it is very easy to understand. And the second book is by I think Horak. Yeah, that is Willis' book. Both are Willis' book only. Willis. So that is on telecommunications. That's a very huge book, 800 pages book. Okay, but you have to do selective reading in that. You need not read all the old things like exchanges and all. You don't have to read. But the basics in that is very good. Like the basic things like the definitions which are there. Very important to understand what's a channel. What is the difference between a path and a channel? And a circuit. What is the difference between a circuit and a channel?
Okay, sir. So can you please repeat the name of first author?
This is A. Leon Garcia.
Okay, sir.
Communication networks. If you can do a search and if you can find this book in the net, because I also downloaded it. I think maybe 5 years back. I don't remember the site from where, and if it is still there, I'm sure then it is easy for you to. You can straight away download this book. Shall we start?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so I will think. Last time when we did, I give you an example of how what happens when we click on a URL and how the process goes through is given diagrammatically over here. It's so easy to understand. See, it is the client. You have the HTTP client in your machine, and there is a server in which the web, which is the URL you are asking for, is being held over there. And I told you that there's a T connection which is set up, which is not a part of the app there, which is at the layer. A TCP call is set up, and there is at port 80 the server on listening, and that also we will see how a socket is found by the server, and at port 80 keeps on listening and he waits for a call from you. So whenever you make that call, at your end you are making an ephemeral port, which I told you. Okay, and that's how it goes up. So the process which I told you was this. The next slide, if you see, user selects the document. The next thing is the network software of the client locates a server host and establishes a two-way connection. So this location of the host, which is your DNS, which we will do next. I will tell you how a DNS is done. Okay. So that is the DNS. Then after that, once a DNS, this communication has been set up with the TCP connection, and a port 80 has been set up at the server end, and your end. It is a real port. Then it on the behind port 80 there is a HTTP daemon. Like you have a client, he has a daemon which is listening. Okay, and it interprets that, then it finds out, checks the various versions, and then it gives a reply back to you. And once it gives a reply back to you, then the data is sent across to you and it is displayed on your. And once you have got the data, it disconnects the call. So this process you have to remember, how to retrieve a document from the web. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. So now what we will do next is that we will see how
excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, in the DNS, in the DNS server, we are retrieving the IP address of the website or the server where that website belongs.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. So we will go on DNS. How a DNS query is done. That is most important. Okay. Okay. So basically, what do you do a DNS? Basically, to find out the IP address of the corresponding domain name. Okay. So just note down what is a DNS. A DNS is a distributed database. A DNS is a distributed database that resides in multiple machines on the internet. That resides in multiple machines in the internet and is used to convert between names and addresses and to provide email routing information.
Sir, please repeat once again.
Okay, the DNS is a distributed database that resides in multiple machines on the internet and is used to convert between names and addresses and to provide email routing information. Each machine maintains its own database and acts as a DNS server that other systems can query. Okay, so generally all people who have their own domains, like we have our own domain called jcrc.ac.in or jcrc.edu.in, it is mandatory for us to maintain a DNS server. Okay, all right, which maps our email address to an IP address and our other name to an IP address, because anybody should be able to find out or locate us. Otherwise, it's very difficult to locate through Google or through where this mail is actually coming from. Okay, so it's on the domain name that the mail comes. Because ours is a edu.in, so automatically it comes to our DNS server. There's a server over here which then will say, okay, we have this email. Please send the email across over here, or the email is allowed to interact. Okay. Now, what are the steps that are required for AES? So after receiving the address request, so once you have got the address request, the process in the host, that means the server, the process in the server called the resolver composes the message in the step 2. See what it does. It makes a message which is shown in step 2. Can you see the step 2? Resolver compiles query message. So first you ask for a name. So it goes to some DNS server which is there. Okay. So if it is your own server, it will go to that server. That server, if it has that address, maybe it will tell you. If it doesn't have the address, it will make the resolver will make a query message. Okay. So the query is header, opcode is S query. Okay. The question is the website which I have written. It is like the website in the example given is tesla.com.toronto.edu. So the domain is edu. Okay. And there is a edu.in which is there. So the class is in. Okay. In stands for institution. Okay. So there are various types of classes like this which are there. Com is there. .com is there. Okay. And then the resolver, then what it does, it sends a UDP datagram encapsulating the query message. What will the resolver do? It will send a UDP message. Okay, what is a UDP? User Datagram Protocol. user datagram protocol is a best service protocol. That means it just transmits the message without checking if a connection has been established or not. Okay, so that is what is UDP. You just transmit the message without checking whether it is taken as best effort. That means it will go and search. If it gets it, it is good. If it doesn't get it, it is just too bad. So it will give you an error, that error 404 not found. Okay. The question portion of the query contains the following information. QName identifies the domain name that is to be translated. So QName identifies the domain name that is to be translated. The DNS server can handle a variety of queries and the types is specified in the queue type. Okay. In this, queue type is equal to A requests a translation of the name to an IP address. That means it is wanting the translation of the name into an IP address. Okay. Queue class requests an internet address. So the class means IN means I require an internet address. That means you have to give me in terms of the internet address, whether it is class A, class B, class C, which is the address that is there. Okay. The message is returned by the server has the response and the authoritative answer bits in the header. So the response, see the response. So opcode is query, response, answer. So first it says, and then it gives, if you see in the end, it gives 128.100.11.56. So that is your IP address which it has translated and given to you. Because from that address only you can do what is called as routing on the network. Okay. You cannot do routing on the network using the domain names or anything. It will not route because I told you how routing is done. Anybody can tell me how routing is done on the network? Anybody? Anybody? How routing is done on the network? See, every machine routing is done at using the IP address. Okay, and it is done at the layer 3 of the layer. That means it is a process which is carried out at the layer 3. That means all layer 3 machines are capable of doing routing, and they do routing with the help of a forwarding table. Okay, forwarding table is a table which is updated every, I think, 1 minute or so on the network. All those who are active connected on the network, the forwarding table keeps on updating itself. And this is done by, when you join the network, you are supposed to send a broadcast message that I have joined this network, this is my IP address, this is my machine address, and I am at port number so and so or so on. Okay, so that is a broadcast message which you send initially when you join. Okay, and with that the forwarding and the routing tables are updated. Okay, so and in the routing table you have, okay, machine number so and so, the IP address is so and so, it is in this network. You know, every network has its own address. So which network it has to go, it has the address, and accordingly it is diverted towards that network. And within that network, where are you located, it is found with the help of the IP address which is there. So have you understood the DNS query, or is there a doubt? So similarly, you have a process for the mail. Okay, you have a process for the mail. I will leave that for you to understand on your own. It is on page number 49 of Leon Garcia, where it says that you first set up a TCP connection, then a daemon is set up. Again, because you have a TCP mail server, so the mail server is running a daemon at its end, and you have got an SMTP client at your end. Okay, you have a client at your end, and it is the same thing like your web. You answer, you query, he answers, he says I have a mail for you, and those mails are pushed to your thing, and it comes and it gets loaded. Either you can see it straight from the server, or you can download it on your machine and see it. Okay. Okay. So now if we go to the OSI model, okay, let me see. Where do I have that? Let me share that also, the OSI model. Can you see this? Hello?
No, sir.
Okay, I'll have to share this probably. I'll stop sharing that one, and from this I will share now. Wait.
कुटू गेट बंद कर ले यार.
Now can you see it? Hello?
Yes, sir, it's visible now.
Okay, okay. So, I told you OSI model is based on proposals developed by the International Standards Organization. The model is called ISO OSI, Open System Integration References Model, because it deals with the connecting open systems that are open for communication with other systems. Open for communication with other system means you have not put anything proprietary. You understand what is proprietary? Yes, no?
No, sir.
Proprietary means like Apple. Apple has got its proprietary, if you say OS, that is called iOS. Okay, and similarly, Android has got its own proprietary iOS. Google has got its own proprietary iOS, which is called as Android, which works on your mobile. So they are proprietary. You cannot. There are certain things on Google which do not work in iOS, but there are certain things in iOS which do not work in Google. But when you are following the OSI models, you have to create the thing in such a way that they are interworkable with each other. Okay, so that's why you can, whatever you are doing on a Google telephone, you can also do it on the your telephone, and both can talk to each other. That's why WhatsApp on Google can work with the WhatsApp in Android. So that is called as open system. That means you have made it in such a way that you have not made it proprietary. But there are a large number of things like, are you all aware of Siri? What is Siri? Siri is a assistant
Voice
in the Apple telephone. Now that will not work on Android. While Google has got its own assistant on the which will not work in the Apple phone. So those are closed systems, and there are certain systems which are open, like WhatsApp running on both of them is an open system. So WhatsApp is created in such a way that it can work either on that one or on this one. So you have to keep your systems in such a way that you do not close it from letting others work on it. Okay. All right. So you cannot access probably an Apple crowd from your Google telephone, or you cannot access a Google platform. Sometimes it allows. I think my telephone iPhone has got the facility to access a Google cloud also, but I don't think you can access an iCloud from your iPhone. Okay. Okay. Principles I told you that day. The layer should be created where different levels of abstraction is needed. Each layer should perform a well-defined function. That means there is a peer process which is running in each level, and those processes runs on two different machines. So your client machine will run a process. A similar process is run on the in the server machine, and both the processes talk to each other. Okay. The function of each layer should be chosen according to the internationally standard protocol. So you have to make your applicable to standardized protocols which are there. And the number of layers should be large enough that they differentiate between the various functions, and it should not be so large that it makes the whole system complex. So these are the layers. I will give you this presentation, not to worry, you need not note down. It's okay if you can just see and make small notes only, which I am talking. So top layer is application, then is presentation, then is session, transport, network, data link, and physical. So if you see that devices will have these 7 layers, that means your server and your end user devices will have. But intermediate nodes where you have things like switches, routers, your communication equipment, they only process up to 3 layers only. Okay. Have you understood this? Not understood this? Please say yes or no.
Yes, sir.
Clear?
Understood.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
But please try and understand. Let us say the intermediate node is a communication equipment like a optical transmission system. You get my point? There is an optical transmission system. So at the layer 1, what is connected? Your fiber is connected. At layer 2, you are forming packets, various packets which is coming, and at layer 3, IP coming, and you are transmitting all this that is going. But you must understand that the machine is running what is called as an operations and maintenance system on it. That means you can watch the complete network. You can see the faults that are happening on the network. So there is some computer system inside this which is running that, which runs up to layer 7. But the transmission equipment doesn't run up to layer 7. The computer inside the transmission equipment, which is doing the all other functions of what is called as operation and maintenance of that equipment, runs up to layer 7, but the equipment doesn't run up to layer 7. That is what is to be understood. Have you followed what I've said or not? Anybody not followed, please ask me. Shall I go ahead?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is how at the layer 7 there is data. At the layer 6, which is your presentation layer, you have a data and a protocol data unit. That small blue thing that is there is called as the protocol data unit, which carries all the protocol information that are there, which are the signaling, which are the what are the various things. At layer 5 is the session, again data plus a protocol data unit. Okay. So there are 2 protocol units which are come over here. At the layer 4, there is 3 protocol data units. At the layer 3, that is your IP layer, you add even another, other than the protocol data unit, is basically the IP address that you add. That means the source IP address and the destination IP address. And at the layer 2, you add what is called as the machine address. That means the physical address is added over here, which is called as the MAC address. And at the layer 1, it is converted into actual 0101 and transmitted using whatever is the, if it is light, it is converted into light. If it is electrical, then it is converted into an electrical signal. Okay. So from the data link layer, it comes down to the physical layer as bits and J, and then it is transmitted and received accordingly, and thereafter it starts going upwards. Okay. So the physical layer, we'll go layer by layer now. The physical layer is the bottommost layer of the OSI model. It is responsible for the actual physical connection between the devices. So therefore you require the necessary interface for that. If it is the optical fiber, then you require an optical interface for that. If it is an electrical fiber, you require an electrical interface for that. Such physical connections may be used by making twisted cable. It is concerned with the transmitting bits over the communication channel. So therefore you require an optical transmitter and an optical receiver for the same. So what are the functions? Transmitting bits into signal, provide synchronization of the bits by a clock. So therefore it has got a clock also. Physical layer manages the device, manages the way device connects to the network media. So therefore the interface, it defines the transmission rate, at what bit rate or baud rate you will transmit. It defines the way in which the devices are connected to the medium. Again, means the same thing which I have said. It provides physical topologies. That means from there you can derive how the network is connected, whether it is connected to a next layer 2 switch, whether it is connected to any other device. Okay. And it can use different types of multiplexing. So whether you can do FDM, TDM, any types of multiplexing that you have to do, you can do it from here. Okay. Now next we come to what is called as the data link layer. Okay. So that is the layer from the sender side, it will be the second last layer. From the receiver side, it will be the second layer. The receiver side, the physical layer becomes the first layer, and at the center side, it is the last layer where the data is converted and sent out. Okay. So at the data link layer, you form what is called as a frame, and it services the network layer. See, the physical layer services the data link layer. Okay. On the sender side, the data link layer services the physical layer for providing it with the necessary frame and the data inside it, along with all the other requirements of corrections or error correction, everything that is there. And on the receiver side, the physical layer then services that means whatever data it receives, it converts it back into an 1010 and gives it to the data link layer. Okay. Understood, not understood? If not understood, please ask. Follow?
Understood. Yes.
Huh? Okay. So it's not a very difficult thing. I'm sure most of you know. So what is the job of the data link layer? It is responsible for node-to-node delivery of data. It receives the data from the network layer. So that means whatever data is coming from the network layer, that means you are getting an IP packet from the data layer, which consists of on either side a source IP address and a destination IP address. And within it, it has got all the other things that are required from the top layers. That means from the top layers, it has received all the protocol data units and along with the actual raw data which has been there, depending on the size of the data that you have cut and put it inside this. It receives the data from the network layer and creates frames out of it, adds physical address to these frames and pass them to the physical layer. Okay. So what it does, whatever it gets from the network layer, it will add the source MAC address and the destination MAC address to it, plus some other things which we will see after this, and then it will give it to the physical layer. And this has got two layers, sub-layers inside it. One is called the logical link layer and the other is called the medium access control layer. Now what is the logical link layer? It defines the method and provides addressing information for communication between network devices. Okay, it defines the methods and provides addressing information for communication between networking devices, and the medium access control establishes and maintains the link between communicating devices. So physical connection of devices is done by the MAC layer, and the logical connection is done with the help of the logical link control. That means adding of MAC or CRC or whatever is required is done at this end. Let's go a little further, you will understand. So what are the functions of the data link layer? Data link layer divides the bits received from the network layer into frames. So whatever is data it is getting, there is a size of the frame which is there. I think the jumbo frame is about 1526 bytes or something. We will see it. But generally it makes a 64 byte frame. The frame contains all the address information necessary to travel from the source to the destination. That means it has got the machine address, that is the physical address, as well as the IP address, that is the network address. Okay. Then it also does what is called as physical addressing. After creating frames, data link layer adds physical address of the sender and the receiver, that is the MAC address, in the header of each frame. Okay. Where does it find the receiver's MAC address? Because of this, when you keep on what you call as you can find out the MAC address by doing a DNS or anything that you require, you can find out the MAC address, and that is added in your header. And then it does what is called flow control. Here it prevents the fast sender from drowning the slow receiver. So what it does something called as a buffering. Okay, and it does what is called as an exchange of information, where it tells the transmitter, hey, please do not send it so fast because I'm not able to, because the line condition may not be that good. You may be sending at a very high speed, but there may be drops in the network which is there and it is not able to receive it clearly. It can send a notice to you saying that please slow down your transmission. So that is called as flow control. So that will be done by the receiver here, and here he will take care of it, that he will slow down his transmission by making sure that he puts certain amount of data into the buffer. There are a large number of buffer registers which are there. They store the messages in that. These happen at speed of light, therefore we are not able to make out कि actually कितना टाइम तक वो रखता है, कितना टाइम तक वो उसके बाद वो ट्रांसमिट करता है. Okay. So here you see that how the source address, destination address. So source address is 10, destination address is here. You have the trailers and you have the data, and this is how it is able to make out in the network. From where? If it is within the network, it is very simple. It can find out accordingly from here on. Another thing it does is error control. It provides a mechanism of error control in which it detects and retransmitted damaged or lost frames. So error control is done with the help of what is called as cyclic redundancy code or CRC. Okay, there is a method of carrying out CRC. It is done by complete data bits plus along the address. Everything is taken together, and then you have a polynomial generator which generates a polynomial, and you divide the complete data with that polynomial, and you will get some residual figure. That figure is used along with, like you're having code, you transmit it along with this, and when he receives the data, again he generates with the same polynomials. He takes out after dividing the data with that polynomial, and both these CRCs, if they match, then it is said that it is without error, and if they do not match, you will know exactly where the error has occurred. Okay, and then another function it does is what is called as access control. Okay, it is basically for shared devices. When you are sharing the device and you are trying to access the like your Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is a shared device because it's the same network. Everybody is trying to access that network. So who will get the channel is decided by what is called as the access control. Okay. All right. Is this clear? Not clear? So there are various access control techniques like CSMA, which is called carrier sense multiple access, and there are two with it carrier collision avoidance and collision detection. Two methods are there. We will do it separately when we do layer 2 in detail, and how CSMA, how it is done, how you sense the channels, what is the method, what are the things that you use in sensing the channel. So there, access control, when you are having the wireless, then there is a device in your which is trying to sense every time. Is the channel free or is it busy? If it is busy, it will not transmit. If it is free, then it transmits. Okay. Then you come to the network layer. The network layer is serviced on the sending side by the transport layer. So transport layer gives it all its data plus along with the layer 4 packet data unit, protocol data unit, and it transmits it to the layer 3. Okay, where they make it what is called as a packet. Okay, by putting the IP address of both the sender and the destination. Okay, and the reverse is done on the receive path. The right side is complete the receive path, this left side is from the send path. So what is the network layer it does? It is responsible for the source to destination delivery of a packet across multiple networks. That means it is basically carrying out what is called as routing, finding out the route from the source to the destination. The two systems are attached to different networks with devices like routers. Then network layer is used. If there is no, if you are within your own network, that means if you are connected to only layer 2 switch, Ethernet to Ethernet, like in your, if you see in your labs, there are 17 to 18 computers connected to the same switch which is there inside that room only. When you are communicating with any of them, you don't require the network layer to come in the middle because it's layer 2 only. He knows the MAC address. This MAC address is because it has got a MAC address. So you will from its MAC address only take out the address and route it accordingly over there. Okay. The data link layer oversees the delivery of the packet between two systems in the same network. So you do not use the layer 3 in that. So data link layer only does that work. And the network layer ensures that the packet gets its point of origin to the final destination. So thereafter the network, because since it is, every machine has also got its own IP address. Based on that IP address only you can route, otherwise you will not be able to route. Okay. You cannot route purely based on MAC address. You have to route using the IP address, but your delivery can be done by the help of the data link layer only if you are within the same network only. So it is used basically as a part of the internet work. Internet is working only on IP addresses only. So most important thing, the network layer comes into play, where you have various routing protocols like open shortest path first or real-time internet protocol. All these are the routing protocols on this one. Okay. So here what we do is what is called as logical addressing. When a packet is sent outside the network layer adds logical network address of the sender and the receiver to this packet. That means the IP address is like a logical network to you. Network addresses are assigned to local devices by the network administrator. That means there is a network. Whenever you form a network, there is an administrator. He is supposed to keep tag of everything. He has the knowledge of everybody's machine language, which machine is joining, which machine is allowed to join, not allowed to join. When you have security along with this, what is your name, password, where is it stored? All this is kept by the network administrator. Okay, and sometimes assigned dynamically by a special server called as DHCP server. Okay, so what is DHCP? Any of you know what is DHCP? Anybody who can tell me?
So DHCP server is basically inside your router, which assigns a IP address to whatever machine is connected.
It's not, yeah, it may be, but it is a specific server. It is a server. What happens is that is the one which is connected to the outside world. Okay, so to the outside internet it is connected, and it has one bunch of IP address. So what? See, you may have 500 computers on the internet, but the internet may not be able to provide you with 500 logical IP addresses. So what do? You ask for IP addresses based on your access pattern. Okay, you do a calculation saying that at any point of time I will have only 50 computers accessing the network. Okay, balance 50 may be off for a particular period of time, or again can keep on switching between the two. But at a particular instance of time, say at so and so instant of time, there may be only 50. So what I do, I tell the internet service provider that I require only say 55 IP addresses, and I put those IP addresses in a server, and then I run what is called as the dynamic host control protocol on it, which allows, as you are trying to approach the internet, it gives you a IP address. So that becomes a temporary IP address for you, and what goes outside is only the server IP address, because from that the people are able to make out कि कहाँ से message आया है और कहाँ वापस उसका reply भेजना है. So that is what is a dynamic host protocol. Dynamic host protocol does not give you what is called as a static IP address. Your IP address keeps on changing with message to message, session to session. For one session, it will keep the IP address common. The moment your session changes, that means one web page you have finished seeing, and you are just watching that in your ear, and you are not doing any activity on the internet, that IP address will go away from you and it will give it to somebody else. The next time you click, you are again given a next IP address, if it is free that time, which generally is, you will get it, and then you can start your second conversation. Okay. Routing. When independent networks are connected to create internet work, several routes are available to send the data from the source to the destination. So this is actually you have the router. Your router may not be connected only to from A to B. It can be connected A to C, A to D, A to E. Then B is connected to D, B is connected to E. Then B is connected to F. Then D is connected to F. So all this network which is being formed, the storage of the information is done by what is called as the routing information which is there. Okay, then comes the transport layer. Now what is primarily the job of the transport layer? So network layer, you understood? Network layer adds the IP address, and it helps you in searching your way across this web which is there, which is called as a, why it is called a web? It is like a cobweb. You have to find your way on that, I have to reach the destination. So your way in the network is with the help of the IP address which is there. And the transport layer allows you to set up what is called as a reliable communication, virtual communication channel between the sender and the receiver. So if you are wanting reliable communication, then you have to use the transport layer protocol called as TCP. And if you want a best effort communication, then you have to use the transport layer communication protocol called as UDP. Okay. So it is responsible for process to process delivery of the entire message. So like the HTTP. The HTTP has to be delivered from the client to the server. This process is done by the transport layer by making sure that he has a virtual channel created for you. Okay. Alright. So the transport layer looks after the delivery of the entire messages, considering that all packets and make sure that all the packets are in order. That means it will make sure that whatever packet size which is going and coming at the receiving end, the way it has sent the packets across, it will rearrange it in the similar way and give it back to you. Okay. And since the time we have started using internet, these top three layers have been combined into one layer which is called as the application layer. Okay, so application, presentation and session layer becomes the application layer, and the transport layer provides a reliable communication to the application layer only. That is what you must understand now. So you had the OSI, Open Systems Integration, 7 layers, and when you come to the TCP/IP model, then you have only 5 layers with the top 3 layers merged together into what is called as an application layer. Okay. So it provides 2 types of services. One is called as connection oriented services, which is your TCP, and it provides one is called the connectionless transmission, which is the UDP. So TCP, it is this type of transmission the receiving devices sends, and every time in TCP you will not send the second packet unless you have received the acknowledgement for the first packet. And in the UDP, you just keep on sending the packet without waiting for any response from the receiver. So naturally the connectionless transmission is much faster than the connection oriented transmission, but you can do connectionless transmission only where you feel that there are no glitches in your media. So if your media is very good, you have an optical media direct one-to-one connected between the sender and the receiver. You know there is no obstacle in the middle, there is no switch which requires to do any processing or anything. So there you are aware that okay, I can use UDP straight away. Okay. And at places where you don't require any confirmation that whether he has received your message or not, then you will do UDP. Okay, like your mail. When you send the mail, you are not looking for an acknowledgement that whether your mail has actually reached the receiver or not. You are only looking कि it should reach the server और वहां जाके वो Gmail server में load हो जाना चाहिए, क्योंकि वो receiver कब देखेगा I don't know. Okay. So what is the functions of the transport layer? Segmentation of the message into packet and reassembly of the packets into messages. तो ऊपर से जो नीचे आता है from the application layer, presentation layer, session layer, they come as form of messages, and then at this here it is converted into packet. You put the port address to it. It does the port addressing. I told you what is a port. A port is an address on which you listen for a particular process. Like HTTP is the process. It will be heard on port 80. And at your end, you put a ephemeral port 80 for that duration of the session. Okay. Then it does what is called as flow control. Flow control facility prevents the source from sending data packets faster than the destination can handle. So again, the same repetition of some things are there in the layer 2 and layer 4 also. So basically at layer 4 only you are doing what is called as flow control. Maximum flow control is done over here because you are receiving the data. Now if you have not received the, at the receiving end, the transport layer receives all the data and puts them into the, see this is packet number 1, 2, 3. So if you have got packet 1 and 3 and you have not received 2, you have to wait for 2 to come so that you can put the 2. That's why when you are seeing your videos, you sometimes get glitches. Because what has happened is you have received packet 1 and 3, you have not received 2. So if your system is trying to show it, what it shows packet 1 and the packet 2 is missing, so you get a glitch in the middle. But sometimes that glitch is overcome because the 2 has come during that time and he automatically feeds the 2 and 1, 2, 3 is fed again, and then you can see the whole video clear. So these are required basically in your video conferencing facilities. And it does error control. It checks whether all the messages have come or without errors or not. Then session layer. The session layer gets its data from the presentation layer. Okay, and it feeds all its data to the transport layer. Okay.
Okay, and how the part on there, the ATmega 328P, may be counterfeit. In my first video, I compared the part on this board to some genuine parts I had and showed that they can't hit the same
What's this?
specs. And then in my last video, I sent the part off to Sensible.
What put this on?
Professionally did a trim.
Aman, put your. What are you trying, Aman? What are you seeing? Aman,
Yes, sir.
what
Nothing,
were
sir.
you seeing? You're seeing something else. You're not following the lesson.
No, sir.
Huh? Then what were you seeing?
I was actually, sir, I was actually trying to ask you a question. So before that, I was clearing out some of my own doubts about the OSI model.
Okay, there are a large number of videos on the OSI model. You can see it. This is a very common thing which is available everywhere. So what I'm telling you is only an explanation. You can see it on any of the, in YouTube if you go, you'll see large number of videos are there. In the Google itself, there will be large number of videos which you can see. Okay.
Right, sir.
So the session layer is responsible for beginning, maintaining and ending the communication between two devices called as a session. So maintaining a session is that of the, so if it is a HTTP session which is going on, the session layer is responsible for maintaining this. That means making it into proper packet, conversations between the two, asking for a question, replying to a question. All this is done over here. It provides orderly communication between devices by regulating the flow of data. So every layer is also trying to do only that. Let not the data come in too fast, or let it not be transmitted too fast. Okay. Establishing, maintaining and ending a session. So when sending devices first contacts with the receiving devices, it sends a synchronization packet to establish a connection. This you can read on your own. When I send this, you can read all this. Then it does what is called as dialogue control. That means talking between the two. And then it does what is called as dialect separation. It adds a checkpoint between, so that the stream of data which is coming, it doesn't, you are able to make out, okay, here up to here it means this, and thereafter it starts another process which is there. And the top layer is the presentation layer. I told you what is the sixth layer is the presentation layer, where you are basically compressing the data, encoding the data, encrypting the data. Okay. The presentation layer is the sixth layer in the OS model. It is concerned with the syntax and semantics of the information exchange between the two devices. It presents the data based on the type of data that is acceptable to your computer. So whether it is in the ASCII format, whatever format it is required, it's done at this place as well. And it also does what is called as data encryption, decryption and compression. So if you have the HTTPS, the S is present done at this end. Okay. So it depends on what is the type of encryption, whether you have symmetric encryption or asymmetric encryption, based on that. Okay. So data presentation and translation, because different computers use different encoding systems, it ensures that the data is presented to you in the right format. It does data encryption. It provides the facility by which hides the information from everyone else. So it depends on what is the type, whether you're using SSL, whether you're using different types of here. And it compresses, that means JPEG, MPEG, MP4 for audio, MP3, MP4 for audio, MPEG for your video, and JPEG for your images. Okay, GIF, TIFF, all these data which are there. And the top layer which you have is the application layer, which is directly interacts with the user. And I told you at the application layer, basically you are having all the protocols on which your application requires to run. It is the topmost in the 7th layer of the OSI model. It enables the user to access the network. It provides user interface and supports for the services. So it provides HTTP for your web services. It provides SMTP for your email services. Those protocols run over there. FTP for your file transfer. Okay, so it provides services to different user applications which are there. So it provides mail services, file transfer and access, remote login. You understand what is remote login? When you have to log in into some other system and use the devices, services of that system. And it provides you access to the World Wide Web by using the HTTP protocol. Okay, so that's all is that for the application layer. This is one full chapter of I would call the layering of computer communication and how it affects your company computer communications. Okay, so from the next time onward, we will start with. I will give you some basic definitions of the the communication systems which are there, and thereafter we will see the what I told you the other day, which are the various media, a little on each media, and finally what is the satellite system, how does the satellite system work, communication systems only, not the launch of the satellite. We are not worried about how the satellite is launched. We are more worried about after the launch how the satellite is used as a communication system, the microwave system, the wireline system, then your fiber optic system. Okay, and how do you choose a particular media? What are the various the considerations for choosing a media? Okay, now give me 1 minute to take your attendance because your ERP is not yet up, so I have to note down the every day, otherwise I will not be able to make out.